Have you ever seen old videos of Toronto and felt nostalgic, like you wanted to go back in time to experience it for yourself? Have you ever thought to yourself, where did that city go? Over the past 40 years, Toronto has changed immensely. It no longer looks the same, it no longer feels the same, and for many, it's not a better place. In 1986, Toronto was a large national city, a city of over 3.5 million people. Today, Toronto has over 7 million people. It is a global metropolis. In 1986, only 14% of the city's population was, quote, a visible minority, or in other words, non-white. Today, that number is over 51%. In 40 years, that is how much demographic change has happened in Toronto. The average price-to-income ratio to afford a home in this city went from around 3.7% in 1986 to over 11% today. So the question is, has modernity been good for Toronto? Is the city better today than it was in 1986? It might be easy to say to yourself that modernity has been great for Toronto. Look at Yonge Dundas Square, or as we should call it, Sankofa Square. Condos have gone up everywhere. Every building is modern, lit with LEDs, and full of glass. But what modern Toronto lacks is that sense of identity and soul. Does Toronto even know what it is anymore? Because every building and every storefront in this part of downtown, you could find anywhere else. There's nothing unique about downtown Toronto today like there used to be back in the 80s. The footage you're gonna see in this video is from a 1986 television program called NightWalk. Canadian production company Global found a loophole in Canadian broadcasting legislation at the time. Instead of broadcasting test bars on screen overnight and losing out on key revenue, the Global producers decided that it would be far simpler to send a cameraman into the city at midnight to walk and record what he saw. No monologue, no commentary, just raw footage of the city as it was at that time. To make it even better, the producers of that television show commissioned their own original score to accompany the show so that they wouldn't have to lose out on licensing fees. This did two things for them at the time. First of all, it gave them content to broadcast overnight. Second of all, it made sure that they hit their mandatory Canadian content quota so that they could eventually broadcast more revenue-driving content, American content, in key primetime slots. Now, although the show was created to exploit a loophole, the footage that was left behind has created a time capsule, a glimpse into the past of what our city used to look like. So over the next 20 minutes, I'm gonna walk you through the exact same shots to show you what has changed and what little bit has remained the same. So this is the inside of what you were just looking at. A completely abandoned mall, ready to be bulldozed, ready to be convert it into another condo. Look, you've probably noticed that you can no longer access Canadian news on Facebook or Instagram anymore, thanks to Bill C-18. With Bill C-11, the government has given themselves more control to determine what we can see and say online. Whether or not you agree with this legislation, it's becoming increasingly obvious that in Canada, internet access is managed from the top down in this country. That's why I use private internet access. A VPN like PIA encrypts your internet connection and hides your IP address through a secure tunnel, protecting your data from hackers, internet service providers, and yes, government censors. With PIA, you get access to servers in 91 countries and all 50 US states, so you can access content that's been geo-restricted in Canada. Plus, you can connect an unlimited number of devices with just one subscription: your phone, your laptop, your tablet, pretty much everything. PIA has over 30 million downloads and a proven no-logs policy that's been verified in court and audited by Deloitte. They are the most transparent VPN out there. So go to piavpn.com/Harrison Faulkner to get 83% off private internet access. That's just $2.03 a month, plus you get an additional 4 months free, and there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So it's completely risk-free. Take back control of your internet today with private internet access. Now, it's just empty store after empty store. And it feels like it has been stuck in time. 1980s architecture, 1980s feel, all empty. Cumberland Terrace here in Yorkville, just beside Bay and Bloor, just beside Bloor-Yonge, one of the busiest intersections in Toronto, maybe in all of Canada, and you have this completely empty mall. Now, the only occupants who spend any time in here, this entire vast empty mall, are homeless people looking for some shelter and security guards who don't usually get them out, but just make sure to keep the peace. But if this doesn't scream 80s and lost in time, then I don't know what does. Remarkable. Let's go down one of these staircases. That's usually where you see the most interesting people. Is everybody good down here, guys? Sorry, I'm just... Hey, little buddy. Well, there you go. 2 people doing drugs. One with a dog, actually. Very sad. Very sad. This whole place is eerie. Toronto's homeless population reached a record 15,000 last year. To put that into perspective, the homeless population has more than doubled in Toronto since 2021. In the city's street needs assessment in 2024, homelessness was described as a crisis.
Toronto's homeless shelters, meanwhile, are operating at capacity, and approximately 40 people are turned away from shelters every night. The reason why homelessness is so visible in Toronto is that it's just so much worse than it used to be.
Modern lights, businesses, abandoned mall, right through this dividing line. It's incredible. But we're going to go back through the abandoned mall where it's quiet. It does. I don't know. This could be sketchy. I'm not getting in there. All right, what you've just seen is footage of this subway station from the 1960s. Now, the subway system may be the best way to judge the city's decline. The subway system may feel more modern, it might feel brighter, there are more tracks, and there are certainly new trains. But here's the reality. Over the last 5 years, the TTC has received global attention for brutal, random acts of violence on the transit network. There are viral videos that go on social media basically every month of homelessness, open drug use, and antisocial behavior on the tracks. According to a recent poll in February of just this year, commuters said they felt safe only 51% of the time while using the TTC. Half of commuters feel unsafe riding the tracks. It's interesting to be able to walk around in Eaton Centre when it's so empty and quiet. But if you watch old videos of Eaton Centre and you look at what it used to feel like and what it used to look like, you would notice, as one of the standout symbols of the Eaton Centre, that behind me, this arch, where there now is a giant Nike symbol and a Simon's symbol, there used to be all of Canada's provincial flags hanging. It's now been replaced, in quite a symbolic way, I should say, by a giant Nike symbol and a Simon symbol, and then, for good measure, some bland modern office spaces. These places used to have soul. These places used to have character. Today, they are over-corporatized, modern, and sterile. That is what makes those old videos of young Dundas Square in the 80s, the old videos walking along Yorkville and Upper Yonge Street, have so much impact, because you could feel that it was genuine and real. Today, it's all just corporate. Think about the architecture in this city and the change that you can see when you compare old Toronto to new Toronto, especially this strip of Yonge Street. In old Toronto, you had raw grittiness, different colored lights, neon lights. Today you have modern, glass, sterile buildings with overly bright LEDs, changing the psychological impact of what you feel on screen. Yes, Yonge Street back in the day wasn't perfect, but I think that's what gave it its charm. The fact that every store had a different story. Everything was unique. They weren't all corporate chains, repeats of what you could find in every other city. Yonge Street was different. One thing about Yonge Street in the 80s that has now completely changed is the imposed height limitations on building. Most buildings along Yonge Street, especially the old ones that still remain, you can find are quite low. Today, building after building is getting knocked down and being replaced by skyscrapers. Statistics may tell you that the city today is safer than it was in the past. And in many cases that may be true, but that doesn't tell the full story. Crime did peak in this country around the 80s and 90s. Then there was a prolonged period of safety, but starting in 2015, crime picked up in this city, and it has reached record levels. Yes, crime is down, but crime is only marginally down from its recent peaks. So when you read statistics that say Toronto is safer, that is only telling half-truths.
On a year-over-year basis, major crime indicators are down for 2025 compared to 2024. But major crime is up a staggering 30% since 2020, and up 39% from 2015. In 2015, there were 3,285 auto thefts documented by the Toronto Police. By 2020, that figure had increased by 76% to 5,798. By 2023, there were a record 12,539 auto thefts. That number has since gone down to 7,000, but that number is still far higher than it was in 2020. Assaults are up almost 40% over the last 10 years. Reported sexual violations have increased by 46%, and theft over $5,000 has effectively doubled.
So you've seen Toronto, 40 years apart, same location, same time, just with new tech and new cameras. You tell me in the comments what you think is better. If you could go back in time, would you live in Toronto of 1986 or would you live in Toronto of today?
This video was sponsored by Private Internet Access. If you scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description, you can get 83% off Private Internet Access today.
If you like that video and you want to see more original journalism and travel pieces, let me know by liking this video, subscribing to my YouTube channel, and sharing this video with your networks. Thank you all for watching.